Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our TGIF, the Friday episode, the product owner episode as well. This week with Luca Cotta Ramusino. Hey, Luca, welcome back.
Hello, Vasco. Pleasure to be here.
And in fact, it is a great pleasure to have you here to talk about, for those of you who haven't listened to the previous episodes, go and check them out. Agile and Lean applied to construction. And we're going to focus on the product owner role applied to construction. Now, of course, product owner and construction project are not two things or two concepts that you would immediately put together, but you have, Luca. So we want to learn about that. So what have you learned about applying the product owner role in construction projects?
I know we have some minutes to talk about this, but I'm going to give you a sound bit. So for me, the most important takeaway was think like a customer. Okay.
Break that down for us.
When I started studying Lean, the flash of recognition was it's the customer that defines what value is. Okay? You can't shove down a customer's throat what you think is value. It's the customer that says, oh, okay, this is what I want. And if the customer does not care about some feature or aspect, then it's not value, it's waste. If it's not value, it's waste. And your job as a construction professional, or not necessarily in construction, is to eliminate waste from your process so that all you're left with is value. Okay? When I was studying to become a product owner, I came across the concept of backlog, product backlog. Now, this is everything we could do, but, okay, and this is where the product owner's role comes in, for me at least, okay, personal opinion. The important question that the product owner gets to ask is, which task out of these 20 is really going to move the yardsticks? Okay? Which task is going to advance our project towards completion? So I would say the number one reason that product owner aligns with lean construction is do work that matters. Okay? What I tell on construction site is don't just create dust. do work that matters.
So one of the things that immediately comes to mind, and I really appreciate that aspect of thinking like a customer and only the customer defines value. I really appreciate that because in software, since many of us are technology experts, we very often fall into the trap of thinking that we know better than the customer what they want. And
Yeah.
which is fine. Like it's normal that we fall into that trap. We just need to build in the methods, the approaches that allow us to then get the insights we need to get out of that trap, right?
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It is
We
indeed.
chase shiny things.
So, of course, that brings a very important responsibility to the product owner role, which is okay, but then how do we go about filtering all of the possible things we could be doing into the actual things we should be doing? And that's, of course, the product owner role in Scrum specifically. And I'm curious, Luca, what have you found about being able to kind of, from all of the many things we could be doing, condensing that into the right things to be doing? What do you apply as a product owner in construction to do that filtering, to do that decision?
Rule of thumb, which then gets expanded. Rule of thumb is always work for a customer. Whatever you're doing, you should be able to identify who your customer is. Whatever you're doing, who are you doing it for? If you don't have a customer, you're not working. So stop what you're doing and go look for a customer. Okay, so this is the first question you should be asking yourself. Next up, this is typical of construction projects, but I imagine it's also typical of large software projects. A construction project is a complex beast, okay? You get clarity by breaking it up into smaller chunks. What I say, and again, I have borrowed this this phrase, is your job is to break up a mountain in ever smaller pieces until you have grains of sand. Okay, and the last planner method, which I use to plan construction, does just that. Like Scrum, which is cyclical in its work, so is the last planner. You know, there's something you do once every 2 months. There's something you do every week. There's something you do every day. Okay, like the reflect and disinfect, or the daily huddle that you do before you start work. So a product owner has this job to facilitate this breaking up the mountain into smaller chunks. Okay. Another metaphor that I use is, you know, if you're flying at 3,000 meters, you see the whole of the land, but you don't see details. Okay. If you're flying at 300 meters, you see some detail, you see the treetops, you see the cars. And if you're flying close to the ground, you're seeing all the detail, but you're not seeing the big picture. Okay. You need to look at your project from these different altitudes. So see the whole project from 3,000 meters all the way down to the runway level. When you see the individual pebble that you need to address, otherwise you're not getting to the finish of your project.
Yeah, absolutely. And that becomes kind of It's a special skill, especially because the details cannot be seen by the product owner. They can only be seen by the last planner, as you just said. And the last planner has different meanings at different altitudes as well. Of course, despite all of that, as the product owner, you still need to make sure that value is delivered. As you were talking about, we need to think like a customer. So despite all of these complexities and these different altitudes that you just referred to, how do you, as the product owner, ensure that value is delivered across all the different parts or phases of the project?
Okay. There's another running joke. Consultants are a funny group. The customer doesn't know what they want until they don't get it. Okay, so a customer is much more savvy in telling you what they don't want than in explaining what they actually need. So it's important to have, well, first of all, candid conversations with the customers, but it's also important to work the customer into the process, okay? Because he's the guy or she's the gal who defines value. So, and the product owner is, you could call it like a missing link between the man in the trenches and the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what you're saying is, as a product owner, my first responsibility is to make sure that the customer is present. The second responsibility is to present them with information that they can actually have an opinion on, right? Like they never know what they want until they don't get it, right? So we need to be able to translate what we're doing into that kind of statement and not fall into the trap of thinking that if we just ask the customer what they want, that they will actually know.
Yes. You need to tease the requirements out of the customer, because if you think about it, if you ask, I don't know, a surgeon, how do you want this operating theater? Well, he or she will tell you the surgeon's point of view. But then it's your job to say, okay, how do I give this surgeon the most efficient and effective space so that he can treat or she can work, and treat patients and operate? So yes, you then need to translate these requirements into actionable steps.
Absolutely. And that becomes a critical function for us as product owners. Luca, we're getting close to the end of this week. It's been such a pleasure to have you and listen to the stories from construction that surprisingly are not very different from the stories from software development. I wonder why that is.
Are you thinking about a career change?
No, definitely not. I love my software, so I don't want to leave the software behind. But I can totally see the similarities. And of course, at the end of the day, as Darren Weinberg used to say, no matter how it might look at first, it's always a people problem. And that's true everywhere, no matter what industry we're in, or at least for now. Depends how AI evolves.
And
Luca, it's been a
20
pleasure.
years from now, it's going to be a ChatGPT problem.
Yeah, not so positive on that prediction, but who knows? Who knows? Look, it's been a pleasure. If people want to know more about you, connect with you, maybe ask some follow-up questions, where should they go?
I think LinkedIn, I check LinkedIn regularly every day. So just look me up on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to answer questions and follow up.
Absolutely. And we will do so. We'll put the link to Luca's LinkedIn page. So make sure you go there and ask a few follow-up questions I'm sure he would be happy to answer those. Luca, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity.
The pleasure has been mine. This has been great.
Indeed. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Okay. Bye, listeners. Bye, dear listeners.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into No Estimates, we got the pioneers of No Estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.